Hi, this is Trinesha Cottrell, and today I wanted to talk about come correct. I know you're probably thinking, what is making you do a video called Come Correct? Honestly, right before this video started, I had no idea what I was going to say. I was just like, I was getting ready to say the thing that I say sometimes when I start these videos, but I am quickly reminded of what God told me, and He said that I might not know where the video was going to be headed, but I always have something to say. As long as I have a voice, as long as I'm able to speak, as long as I'm able to write whatever it is that I need to do to get the word out, God will continue to use me as an instrument for the kingdom. And I am willing and um whenever God wants to use me for whatever it is that God wants to use me for, I'm available. I'm ready for whatever it is. Okay, maybe I'm not always ready, but God is always ready. And so therefore I am ready because God is in my life. And so so what made me think about calling this Come Correct just like not even a minute before the video started. Usually there's this word that downloads into my spirit, and earlier there was this word about soul talk that I got from this pastor earlier today, and that was going to be the name of this video. And as I started to read the Bible and I listened to more sermons and I went throughout the day, it just didn't feel as I felt it like a message that I needed to hear, but it didn't feel like something that I needed to speak to. And so I try to be super intentional with where these videos are headed or how I intend on speaking on whatever it is that God allows me to speak on. And so if God puts like a word in my heart, or if there's something that really stands out to me or something that helps me, I usually say it to help whoever watches this video, because it could be one person, it could be used for me in the future, it could be used for someone else, who knows. But I just try to be obedient and do what I can do. And so when I say come correct, the reason why I called it that is because I was reading the scripture before I started this video, and I started being intentional, and I said I was going to listen to people who motivate me. So there's certain people that are in the field that I aspire to be in. And so every day when I was talking to God about being intentional, I said I was going to listen to a video or watch something, or try to surround myself with people, or have a mentor who's able to help guide me towards my purpose, or guide me towards the things that you know the area that I would like to work in, or whatever else. And so, or the field that I would aspire to like impact in whatever way, as long as God sees fit for me to be there. And so, and I say it like that because sometimes we have a passion, or sometimes we have things that we want to do, but it might not necessarily be where God is directing us in our lives. And so I want to make sure that I'm being completely intentional with surrounding myself with the right people and being in the right areas, so that way if God does decide to open a door, even though it might not even come from that, it can come from somewhere totally different, but the intentionality that I have, the consistency that I'm showing, the fact that I'm willing to be intentional with my life and to step into it with intentionality, will allow God to see that, hey, this might not be the thing that is like shiny and super exciting and over the top, but it's necessary. It's something that shows God that he can trust me. It's me being intentional with my life. It's me being consistent within my life. And so I'm hoping that while I'm doing that, God can see that I'm being a good steward of not only my finances, but I'm being a good steward of other things as well. And when I say my finances, I am not on here trying to pretend like I have it all together. There's a couple purchases that I've made that I'm just like, why did I buy that? And then there's some things that I've got that were investments within myself. And so investing in myself. And so it helps when the best thing that you could invest in is yourself, because you will continue to grow and you will continue to learn more. And the more value you put in your education, and that's not just with schooling, that could be with the life events, that could be with a course, that could be with through the teachings that God is showing you, whatever it is. While you're investing in yourself, it allows you to grow and expand. And those things that are knowledgeable, that educate you, knowledge is one of those things in the Bible that is really necessary for you to grow in your purpose as well as in life. And so, as long as you are intentionally growing in your purpose, you are investing within yourself, you are becoming more valuable. You are more valuable than a stock, and some people are going to disagree because they're going to say, well, I hit a million. Not everybody's hitting a million. That's you. And you probably invested because you either got lucky, and so this is just one of those things, or you invested in yourself and you've learned about different stocks and you've learned about different ways to trade and whatever else it is that you do. So you invested in yourself and you were your greatest return on investment. And so as I sat here and I read the Bible, there was this verse that came up and it said, stop judging by mere appearances, but instead judge correctly, which made me want to title this Come Correct. Because sometimes we look at things and they do seem shiny and new. We see people who seem shiny and new, or they seem like they're exciting, or they look attractive. And on the inside or deep down, that thing, that person, whatever it is that we want, it's not good for us. It's something that just because it looks good doesn't mean it is good for you. That's like, I always use this example, and people are going to say, are you fasting again? Listen, I'm going to start fasting, I think, next month or the month after, probably. Or whenever my spirit gets weak, I try to fast because I want to make sure I stay spiritually strong. I'm trying to be intentional with this religion. Like, I'm trying to be intentional with my relationship with God. I do not want to be caught slipping by the adversary or anybody else that he's going to try to enter into my life, because the game is real. Like, I don't like to play games, but I know society is society. The world is the world, and most men or women or other people do enjoy playing games because it's all about who can get the upper hand. I just want to be wherever God intends for me to be. I don't care about what everybody else is doing. I really don't. And I know it sounds ridiculous because I have to live in this world, so I have to know what other people are doing so I can be aware so that I can defend myself, and I'm aware of that, but I also just don't want to fall victim to society. I don't want to conform to the ways of society. I want to live the way that God intended me to live. And one of the things that I read in the Bible and that God put on my spirit and within the past like 3 months is, sometimes he's going to ask me to do things and the world is going to think it looks ridiculous. They're going to think that I look weak when I do it. But if God is telling me this is where I need to be, it doesn't matter what I look like to anybody else. People talked about Jesus, they're going to talk about me, you know? So it doesn't really matter if I look weak to a man, a woman, a person, whoever it is. The right people who need to get the message, who will see me behaving Christ-like, will know that this was something that God put on my spirit for me to do. And that does not mean that I'm going to be allowing somebody to walk all over me or try to use me as a doormat. That means that if God speaks to my spirit and he's saying, hey, help this person, even though they don't deserve it, they don't deserve a word from me, my time, nothing, and I'm speaking life into this person or whatever else it is that God is telling me to do, I'm going to do it. And you could say I look ridiculous, I look weak. You could feel like you have the upper hand. If that's what you need at this moment to feel like you are a better person, then congratulations. That's not my concern. My concern is me being better for myself. It's not about what I can do pleasing to somebody else. The only person I'm trying to please is God. I want to be the best version of myself so I can pour into the people that actually care about me. And I want to be a better version than the person that I used to be yesterday and the person that I was before I rededicated my life to God. That's my main goal. So whatever else anybody else thinks really doesn't matter. And somebody could say it sounds harsh because you should care about what other people think. I care about people, but I don't care about people's opinion because it changes. Now, if someone who loves me tells me something because they care about me and they feel like it'll help my life, of course I will listen to that. But if someone's just talking just to talk, or because they have some sort of insecurity and they want to feel better about themselves, I can't hear any of that. I can't allow that to penetrate my spirit or my soul, because my soul needs to be fed on the word, you know. It needs to be fed on whatever God is trying to feed me, so that I can be spiritually sound, so I can be proficient within the biblical stance, and within my biblical stance and my relationship with God can be like this, you know. I'm trying to be down for God. I'm not trying to be put down by an individual. And so I only say that because sometimes when God does ask me to do things, when I first rededicated my life to God, I was kind of like, oh, but people are going to think that I look weak because I'm helping this person and they don't deserve it. And then I realized it's not about me, it's about giving glory to the kingdom. It's about, especially if God is telling me to do something. God told me to help this person who absolutely 100% didn't deserve it a year or so ago. And I was just like, I mean, the person said something to try to get me out of character. I kind of remained calm. I stayed focused on God. I was able to just be a lady. I mean, I said what I needed to say, but I didn't say it in a disrespectful way. I just said, hey, I'm not going to tolerate being talked to like that. And they listened and they moved on about their life, and I moved on about my business. But it's just, but God also said to be nice, you know, or to be, you know, Christ-like in the situation, not to, like, revenge is God's. It wasn't for me to go out and get revenge against this person. It was for God to take care of it, and He definitely did. I didn't ask for it. I didn't want anything bad to happen to this person. It's just they went through, you know, he, you know what, and it wasn't because I wished it on them. It was just because that's what happens when you go against, you know, somebody who's stayed in their faith. And I'm not saying we're not all God's children, we are. But you should definitely be careful with how you treat people, especially intentionally. Especially intentionally. Why every time do I not want to say especially? Hopefully that doesn't distract too many people. But but when it comes to being Christ-like, sometimes when it comes to seeking God's direction, it's not going to make sense to you. It's going to sound ridiculous. It's going to sound crazy, just like with me having to wait for that one person, like wait 3 to 4 months. But now in hindsight, I know that it would have given me time to heal. I know it would have given me time to build confidence. It would have given me time to be secure in God, because even if I felt an inkling of insecurity, I would have been secure in knowing that God is a God that He cannot lie. He kept His promise. And there's nothing, no weapon that I see or seen or unseen that could ever come against whatever it is that God has for me. And so when you don't follow God, it gives you a little bit of insecurity. I think that's why the adversary comes in. He tries to distract, steal, kill, or destroy you. Because as long as he can do that, he is manipulating you into insecurity. He's making you feel like God isn't who He says He is. Just like Eve in the garden, when he told her that, you know, you won't die, you'll just be exactly like God. Like, just lying to her and trying to make her feel insecure about all of the things that she already has, as if she's at lack of something, when God is the God of abundance. And sometimes we forget that. Sometimes we feel like because the adversary is playing on us that we're missing something. Whether it's you being in a relationship, you being single, you being at a job, whatever your situation is in life, he will make you feel like if you're in a relationship, oh, it would be so nice to be single. You could be out here just, you know, out in these streets doing whatever you feel like it. But you can't, because they are STDs everywhere. There's spiritually transmitted demons all over the place. And sometimes you don't even have to be intimate. And when I say intimate, it could be holding hands, it could be spending that, you know, intimate time with each other. It could be a whole bunch of different things besides just that. But that spirit could still get on you. So you have to be really careful with what you wish for, and try to be more intentional about what it is that God wants for your life, because some of the things that you're hoping that you get in your life are not going to be the way that the adversary promised that they would be, because he's just lying to you. He's making you think that, oh, it's going to be so nice to have all of these women with you. He doesn't tell you that all of these women are going to use you and steal your money and then play you. Because why would he want to tell you that? Then it wouldn't be appetizing. I mean, yeah, they look good, but what matters more? Your peace, your spirit not being disturbed, you actually having somebody who has your back, or you being with somebody just because they're attractive, or you being with somebody because you get kudos from your friends or your family members or whoever else it is in your life. Like, what really matters more to you? Is it more beneficial for you to seek God's approval to live the kingdom life, or is it more appealing, or I wouldn't say appealing because of it always looks appetizing when at the adversary brings something into your life. But that peace of mind and that joy that I feel with God is unlike anything the world could ever give me. And so even when you're single, the adversary will say, "Oh, yeah, look at this couple. They look so happy together. Look at these people all over the place. They just look like they're in the perfect relationship." But what he fails to tell you is that no relationship is ever going to be perfect. And even though this works for this couple, it might not work for the relationship that God graced for you. So while you're sitting there wishing and coveting what someone else has, you are being ungrateful for the things that God has already given you. And he can't bless you with more if you're not even faithful with a little, with few things. So sometimes we just get so distracted by the adversary and him making it seem like something else is going to be better than what it is that we could have, that God is going to give us, that we really fall for it. We really fall into whatever it is. We taste the fruit. And I say fruit because we all don't know what type of fruit it is, even though a lot of people will draw or depict a picture of an apple. It's some sort of fruit from a tree. And I just think it's really important to just be thankful for what we have. Single, in a relationship, minimum wage, a great job, whatever it is that you are doing in your life, wherever it is that God has placed you in your life at this moment. You could have been praying for a wife for years and you just can't understand why, but your life is hectic. You can't add another person into your life while you have all of these things going all over the place. And if you keep on pushing people away, you're going to miss out on a blessing that God is trying to give you. How do you know that you haven't met your wife and you pushed her away because you wanted her to be this idealistic image in your head that's not realistic? This is just something that you think is going to happen because you feel like the person is just going to be someone who's perfect. And nobody's ever going to be perfect. Everybody's always going to have a flaw. Am I saying you should settle for somebody that God doesn't intend for your life? Absolutely not. Absolutely don't settle for what Satan has for you. Wait for what God graced for you. Don't just give in because you feel like, well, every person seems the same. Every person's hurting me. Every person, doesn't really want to pursue. And I hate using this word because, like I said, a person could pursue you because of the things that benefit them that you give them, instead of them actually being intentional with wanting you. I want someone who's intentional, who's intentionally seeking God, and therefore they're seeking me because God has told them that I'm the person for them. I don't want someone to pursue me because they want to use me up until I have nothing else left. I want to make sure that I am constantly and always keeping my mind focused on God. And I hope that that's something that you do as well, that you stay focused on God no matter what distractions come your way. And oh my gosh, they're going to look good. They are going to look so, so, so good. And I don't just mean a person, I mean that job is going to be the thing that you thought you always wanted. You're going to get that one client or whatever who's going to pay a bunch of money, and it's just going to seem like this is the person who's going to open that door for you. But who said that just because this person is paying a bunch of money, this is the client? It could be the person that pays a little bit who knows 100 other people who expand your business and grow it to what God intended it to be. You keep on going for a little something because you're settling for something less than what God has for you because you don't believe that God can do more when God is the God of abundance. You never have to be doubtful of what it is that God has for you because Like I said, he's a God that he cannot lie. There's nothing that you could ever want for with God. And I say that, and I feel like I have to clarify because not everybody watched the other video. Because when I was growing up and like you were well taken care of or something like that, like something that older people would say is, yeah, she wants for nothing. That's why I say, with God, you could want for nothing. I don't mean what you want. I mean what God intends for you. I mean what it is that you actually need in your life. And so just stay focused on God, and don't grow weary in doing well. Do not allow the adversary to make you feel like you're missing out on something. Don't ever feel like you might have messed up a situation. Maybe you said the wrong things, or you messed up an opportunity or something with somebody that you feel like should be a part of your life. If you're idolizing them, that's not the person for you. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about if you know that this person could be good for you and God blesses it and they're interested in you. Pray on it, seek God, and know that it's never too late for something that God intended for your life. If God wants you to have a job, you're going to have it because he spins the block for you. He will bring it back around. You will never be able to pass up on an opportunity that God has for you unless you take it for granted and you constantly just overlook all of the blessings that God has for you. And what I mean by that is if God is saying, go to this place and serve here, and he's giving you 12 chances. I'm not saying 12 is the number, but let's say it's 12 chances to do this. And it's happened throughout 12 years. God is going to skip your generation and go on to the next one. For me, the thing that has been helping me lately, and I hope that God keeps placing this in my spirit so it keeps me strong so that I can make it past all the distractions with jobs and people and everything else, is I don't want my daughter to bear the burden that I have to bear to help the people that I'm helping. The responsibility, the weight that you have to carry on your shoulders when you have to help other people isn't like a normal thing. It doesn't feel normal. And some people, like I'll meet some guys and stuff like that, and they just kind of feel like it's just a thing, or they either that, or they feel like, well, let me just play with their mind or breadcrumber or something like that. But I don't have that type of, my spirit can't handle that type of discomfort or distraction in my life, which is why most people last like 3 days, maybe a week, if they're lucky, if they're not the person for me. Because I have, I need all of that energy to pour into other people. I can't, if someone's in my life and they're not there for the right reason, if they're there and they're not being intentional, if they don't have like a plan of a vision, then I can't be distracted because too many people need my help. If I'm going to change the world, I can't allow some guy to come in and distract me. You know, I can't allow somebody to come in and try to manipulate me or play all of these games. Like, I don't have time for the games. I don't know how much time I have. And every day I need to be serving in my purpose. Every day I need to be helping somebody. And I can't do that if I'm empty, if you're draining me. I'm going to need to be filled up. I'm going to need to be able to fill other people and the person up, whoever God graces to be a part of my life. So if you, and I only say this in this video because it's always so weird. People will either be on the video or in the DMs or something. Some kind of way, they just end up there. And if you are intentional, or if you really are trying to get to know me, you need to have a vision for your life and be seeking God. Seeking God first and have a vision for your life. Have some kind of intentionality, because don't don't even, do I want to say it like this? I'm not saying it to be harsh. Like, just don't. If you aren't intentional, just don't. Just don't be used as a vessel for the adversary. Because if I'm going to change the world, I need to be focused. I can't allow myself to be distracted. So if you're really not about that life, then there's plenty of other women who are willing to settle. I just can't be one of them. And I'm not saying that because I want other women to settle and just be with somebody who's giving them the bare minimum or breadcrumbing them or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, every day I'm praying, like, God, just give me the strength to not be distracted by anything. I only want God. That's the only thing I want in my life. That's the only thing I need in my life. I may desire to be in a relationship. I may desire for, other things to happen within my business. I may desire all of these other things in my life. But the thing that I absolutely need is God. And I can't. I need to stay focused. I have to be focused. If you feel like, I don't want to say that. I don't want to, because I feel like there's going to be somebody who's going to try it. And I don't want anything to distract me. I need to stay focused. I need to make sure that God is number one in my life. I don't want to idolize anybody. I don't want any person to come in to pretend like they're something that they're not. Like either you are or you aren't, And so I just I just need God. That's it. And God, just do what you do so I can do what I do. And you just give me the strength so I can make it through everything I need to make it through. Because it's rough. It gets rough. Sometimes it gets hard to let go of things. Sometimes it gets hard to stay focused, especially with all the distractions and especially when you have intentionality in your life and you're in your purpose. It's like the adversary just be throwing things left and right. Like it's so funny because I feel like if I was the type of person who was just willing to settle and just be with anybody or just take anything, then it wouldn't be as many distractions coming at me. I feel like all of the distractions are because I'm trying to stay focused. And I'm just like praying like God, you know my areas of weakness. So please just allow me to stay focused on you because that's all I need to do in my life. And if I'm focused on God, everything else I need will be given unto me. I don't have to worry about trying to be something for somebody else or trying to change who I am because my personality is the thing that will help other women, other men, other people who might need me. And I don't mean need like God. I mean like God might use me to help them with my testimony or help them when they need help with something or whatever else it is. Sometimes I'll have people and this is how I know it's God. Like I'll do certain stuff and I'll do my post or whatever else and I try to do like inspirational posts every day or I'll do this video if God says yes, do a video and serve. And even when I don't know what the topic's gonna be or what I'm gonna say, it's just like I'm like, just use me as an oracle for the kingdom. Whatever it is that you need me to say, however you want me to serve, like I just want to be intentional. I just want to be serving. I want to be, a blessing to somebody else. And whatever you need me to do, just use me. And so I just I just want to stay focused. And I just call on God when I get weak. I call on him to make sure that no matter what's happening around me, I won't get distracted because God is greater than the whole world against me. And it's funny because I was listening to a sermon earlier today and the pastor said, we say no weapon formed against you shall prosper, against me shall prosper. But what we don't realize, I realized this, but as I said it, I didn't think about it in this way. And so he said, we say no weapon formed against me shall prosper. And sometimes we feel like it's just the things that we see, the things that we're fighting against that we call on God for, that God is helping us with, won't prosper. But he says sometimes we don't think about the things that God is doing in the background. The person who was trying to get us fired. The person who was trying to take us down, the person who was trying to manipulate us or to use us or breadcrumb us or whatever else it is that they're doing. And we think that they just ghosted us, but God intervened. We think that they just thought that we weren't good enough, but God knew that you deserved better. We thought that that job really just thought that you weren't qualified, but it's because God was qualifying you for another position. And this isn't from the sermon. I don't know. I just felt this in my spirit, but we really just underestimate the value of having God in our lives. We really feel like it's not a benefit when we seek God first. We sometimes get that spiritual amnesia and we forget that God is who he said he is. We forget that he's the great I am. We forget that he's Jehovah Jireh. He's our provider. He can provide everything from finance to prosperity and our vision and our purpose and our intentionality in our life and whatever it is that we're doing. He could allow us to prosper because he can provide all of our needs. That could be mentally, spiritually, emotionally, whatever it is that we are at lack of. God will give us the abundance of. He will prosper us in all of the areas that we lack, in any area that we need him. And it's just so funny because I always have to remind myself. It's like I feel like we need to get like a prayer journal or we need to get a calendar. And on the calendar every month we need to write all of the things that God worked for in our benefit. Like he's been working in our working in our benefit. He's been doing on our behalf. All of the things that he's done in the past, the position that we were in, that we know that it was only God that got us out of it. We need to write it at the top of our calendar or somewhere that we can see it. So that when we are about to get spiritual amnesia, when we start to think about being ungrateful, when we start to think about how we're missing out on something, when we're not missing anything because God wouldn't take anything from our life that's for us. So why do we really feel like God would take a position from us if it's going to bless our family? He's taking it because there's plenty more positions. He wouldn't take a man from you and give him to somebody else if he was grace for you. The headache, the heartache, the trouble, the stress that you would feel in that relationship is nothing that God would want to give you. He only wants to bless you and for you to have peace and joy in your life. I'm not saying that you're not ever going to disagree. Of course, you're two totally different human beings with different perspectives and perceptions. So of course you're going to disagree. But you will not feel like every day is an emotional warfare in your mind or you are just physically drained because the person is draining you of the spirit that God is trying to give you, of the joy, the peace, everything that God is trying to download into your system so that you can prosper in life. That person is not going to draw all of those things away from you. That's what I mean by that. And it's so funny because you could even feel like, oh well, God told me I'm gonna help this person. If you helping somebody else is training you, that's not God. That is just a distraction to keep you from your destiny. I promise you, God would never ask you to pour into something else that is emptying you, that's leaving you useless for the kingdom. He would never want you to be so depleted that you don't have any energy for the things that really matter in your life. This is how you can tell it's the adversary. If you feel like you're idolizing something, that you're putting something before your religion, before God, if you feel like you're saying, "Oh, if I can't be with this person, I just don't see how God can do anything." If something, God forbid, happens tragically in your life, and you're just like, "I don't know how God could do this." Then if God can't do this, then I just won't be religious. That is all the adversary. And I'm not saying it because I'm trying to downplay the situation or trying to make you feel like you don't have a right to emote. God would definitely want you to feel however you feel, and he's strong enough to handle whatever it is that you have to say to him. I'm just saying that if you're idolizing something, God does not make idols. He is not in the business of making idols. So that is not God. And also, if you try to do things on your own time, it can make you idolize somebody else or something else instead of seeing that person as a human being. You see that person as your God, and God is the only God in my life. So, I don't want this to be too long. Oh my gosh, it's so late, and I still have to exercise. Mm, 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 mm. Okay, I think I have enough time to exercise. I don't know. I gotta exercise though. I have to do it because I just I have to stay on my everyday exercise thing. I gotta make sure I'm being intentional. I gotta do the things I gotta do. I don't know how time went by so fast. Oh my gosh. But in conclusion, when it comes to coming correct, make sure that you're really about that God life. Make sure that you don't allow distractions to deter your focus from your purpose. Make sure that you allow God to use you so that you can glorify the kingdom. Make sure that when you are trying to be in a relationship, when you are, and I say this, and people are probably going to say, you're not in a relationship. Why are you saying this? Listen, I'm saying this because if God is number one in your life, if He's your main focus, then everything else will be given unto you. That's biblical. I'm not saying it as a relationship expert or anything like that because we all know I have never been in a healthy relationship. I don't know what that looks like. So I'm not saying it from that perspective. I'm saying that if you seek God first, the kingdom and all of His righteousness, everything else will be given unto you. That God is a God that He cannot lie. That no weapon formed against you shall prosper, whether it's something that you see in front of you or something behind the scenes. Any person that's trying to take you down, any person that's trying to stop your blessings, God is fighting in the background because He's making a way out of no way. He's making sure that any door that needs to be open is open, and any door that's closed is going to end up making you into something that you're not supposed to be, or turning something into an idol is closed. That person that goes to you is for a reason. It's because God was fighting that battle in the background for you, because the heartache that you were finna feel was going to be worse than any relationship that you could have fantasized about in your mind. And you might not see it that way. You might be mad at God, but God would rather protect you and you be angry at Him than for you to be desolate and disturbed and losing your sense of direction because you're distracted away from your purpose. God would rather you stay focused on Him so that He can give you the things that you actually desire, the things that He actually wants for you, the things that you actually need. Not just something that you want because you see somebody else have something that looks similar. Like, this is something that's really destined for you, something that's really graced for you. That job, that person, that place, that thing that's really graced for you is what God has for you. And it might look pleasing to see, or it might look great on the outside, looking at society and the world with people in relationships, and it just looks like they're perfect. Nobody is perfect but God. And even if you had that relationship, it might not even be the same way with you in it because they're graced for each other. Even if they're not supposed to be together, he's not for you. She's not for you. The person that God has for you is for you. And you don't have to do the most to get it. God is going to make it work. He's going to work it out. God's going to work it out. He's going to do whatever He needs to do in the background to make sure that you have the things that you need. You don't have to do the most to get it. You don't have to worry about trying to covet what someone else has. Just be grateful for what it is that you have. And instead of focusing on the outward appearance of things, the job that pays a lot of money, the person just who looks so appetizing. If they look that appetizing, it's probably not for you. You don't need to be drooling in the mouth over something that God has for you. That's obviously a distraction. The person who is for you is going to be somebody who's attractive, but not somebody that you feel like you need to worship, because idolization is not biblical. That is not God at all. So stay focused on God and make sure that you come correct.